Okay. All right. So I'm just going to pass the microphone. So just like introduce yourself, your name, where you're from, and maybe just to start before we get into the real questions, you can say like, I don't know, what's your favorite JCP memory since we're talking about, the anniversary of the JCP 25 years.
Okay, so my name is Christoph Langer. So I'm working with SAP. Already like 10 years. I think SAP was even longer member of the JCP. So we have colleagues who were in the JCP for SAP now are for different companies.
That's true.
We come to that later.
As far as people who are here, you're the longest standing EC member.
And I think, maybe, I don't know how many people know, but SAP has a history with Java as a licensee of Oracle or Sun at the time to build Java for SAP purposes. So we did not go out with a JDK that everybody could use, but SAP was betting on Java and a lot of applications. And at that time we started working it. It was before the OpenJDK project was set up, but then we joined the OpenJDK project right from the beginning, and also from that time we are a part of the JCP.
I think because the JCP was launched in '98, and then OpenJDK started around 2006 timeframe. So even before that, been involved since the beginning. And I apologize, we have met. Christoph. We just recognize each other. We haven't seen each other in person.
Right. So we didn't travel so far for JCP venues, but today, since it's so close to our SAP location, we are even here with two people. So then I can hand over to my colleague Martin. I think he was representing SAP more, and that has met you.
Yeah, we have met in person already, but only once in San Francisco, 2019. So as Christoph said, I'm Martin Dörr. I also work for SAP, and I'm also one of the secondary representatives in the JCP EC. We do still a lot in the OpenJDK. We maintain the updates, especially we are the official OpenJDK 17 maintainers, and we also contribute to the other updates. But not only updates, we also contribute to the more recent development. We are maintaining the IBM Power Platform, for example, and we try to improve maintainability. So better HS error files, for example, or better exception messages. All kind of things. So I give the mic to you.
Thank you. So my name is Ken Fogel. For 31 years, I taught computer science at a college in Montreal. I retired a couple of years ago and then did what all good academics do. I wrote a book, and I'm sure the three people who bought it enjoy it. My interest has always been Java in education. That many schools, adopted Java early on. I think they adopted it because it was easier than C++. And so they loved it, but then something kind of strange has happened. They have been reluctant to move with the advances in the language. We've discovered, at least where I am in Quebec, most schools are still using Java 8, and they show little interest in moving forward. And so I've been involved with the Java in Education initiative and hoping that members of Java user groups can kind of maybe do an audit of the universities around you. What are they using? Are they still using Java 8? Or are they moving along? They don't necessarily have to jump to everything right away. I have to admit the program that I managed, we did. We used every new version as it came out because we believed we needed to prepare our students for the workplace with the current standards. And so that's what I've been interested in the JCP. I've prepared some presentations, and hopefully you will all get involved with schools and promote Java and promote using the new versions. Take advantage of it.
Hi, my name is Bruno Caballero. I work for Microdoc. We have been in the JCP at least 8 years or even more before me. And we are a licensee of Oracle, and we build runtimes for processors and platforms that are not standards. If you have an operating system that is different to the Windows, Linux, and Macintosh, and you need to run Java on these devices, we are there and we will support you. We have been working also on GraalVM, and we are active in OpenJDK and GraalVM community. Yeah.
Thanks. Hi everyone, I'm Martin. I used to be part of the executive committee as the London Java user group, which was actually my favorite memory of the JCP, because we were one of the reasons why we held up Java 9, because of the whole module system and removal of unsafe and things. And the reason why I enjoyed that time was because it showed the JCP actually worked, right? It worked by design. So we were able to have community members who really tried Java 9 out early, looked at all the specifications and went, it's not quite ready yet for prime time. And Oracle, to their credit, took a step back, listened, made some changes, and we released Java 9 eventually. So that was cool. For Microsoft, obviously, we care a lot about Minecraft. So I get more bug reports from children than any of you in this room. And trust me, they are not happy if their birthday party doesn't go well. And we use it at places like LinkedIn, and lots of our big data systems run Java, obviously. So Java is actually really critical to Microsoft, despite us, most people thinking of us as a .NET company. So yeah, we continue to look it up.
Hallo, ich bin der Volker. I think we could speak German, right? We're in Germany here.
You can speak German.
I work with Java since a very long time. I started university with pre-release of Java 1 with the first Linux ports on Blackdawn Java. I don't know if somebody remembers that. Since then, I worked a lot, many years for SAP, and represented SAP in the JCP and in the Java SE expert groups. On OpenJDK, I started to work on porting it to HPUX and PayRisk, which is an ancient server platform. But it was a lot of fun at that time. Was Java 1.4 and Java 5. Now, since about 5 years, I'm working for Amazon. Many people might not know, but Amazon is a really huge Java shop, so a lot of our services are running on Java, and even some very big services. And it makes a lot of difference if we can improve Java. As Miro mentioned, like improving CPU consumption by several percentages or even less can save you billions of dollars. And I think it's very fancy nowadays to speak about CO2 consumptions, carbon dioxide, but in the end, if you measure money or CPU or memory consumption or carbon dioxide, it's basically all the same. So we try to be more frugal. We develop our own ARM CPUs called Graviton, for example, which, as again Miro showed, have dramatically lower power consumption, and that's one of the main reasons why they are cheaper on AWS, and probably one of the reasons why Microsoft now also supports Microsoft also supports ARM CPUs in their cloud. So it's not just you save the license costs from Intel. I think that's a small part as well, but I think the major part is really power consumption, and you save place. You can stick them more closely. You save energy and all that kind of stuff. And we are trying to improve performance. We are developing generational Shenandoah, for example. We are working on heap compaction. We are also active in the updates projects, and then on the Java vulnerability group. Security is another issue, another topic which hasn't been mentioned until now, but it's very important. I think that the whole community here, I think everybody in this room works together to release the quarterly security updates, which are very important, as we've seen in the recent years in several security issues.
Everybody patch every quarter.
So with that, I hand over.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm San Hong, and I work for Alibaba. I think Alibaba is also one of Java user one of big Java user in the world. Actually, almost all our online Java applications are written in Java. So we have a Java team in Alibaba, and we are focused on performance, security, and stability, and to help our Java developers to improve their performance and cost, something like And I remember Alibaba just joined JCP EC 6 years ago, and by joining as a JCP program and being part of JCP EC executive committee, and I think we Alibaba are well connected to Java community. We are involved I think we are just involved in the evolution of Java technology. We are happy to co-work with the people in this room and the Java community, including OpenGDK, GraphVM, and Eclipse or Apache something projects. We are happy to co-work with the community to move Java forward. That's all. Yeah.
All right, so that's our panel. All right, so thank you to our panel for being here. We're going to dig into questions later, but as you can see, this is some of the members on the executive committee. So we talked a lot about some of the topics that we're going to cover in our meeting tomorrow, just to give you a little bit of insight. You can actually view all the materials that the executive committee discusses. That's part of our transparency. So it's transparency in the development of the platform itself, but also in the work of the executive committee. So the members who are here, and then we also have a few others who aren't here. So we actually have ARM, who's not here, but ARM will be there tomorrow, and Intel, Fujitsu, so hardware and chip manufacturers. We have the Eclipse Foundation. We have Carmen in the back. I'll bring her up later. I noticed she didn't come up for the panel, but I'm going to get you later. And some of the things that we're going to talk about are things that the panel brought up. We're going to talk about securing the platform. We're going to talk about a project in OpenJDK, which is paving the on-ramp. So that talks about how to bring new developers into the platform. We're going to talk about the Java in Education initiative that Ken mentioned. So how can we get more involved with Java user groups so that you can work with your local universities? And we're going to talk about some of the port projects, including the port to RISC-V. So I know the folks at SAP are working on some of the other port projects. You talked about the Power project, and Microdoc's going to share with us about some of their work. So what we typically do is we rotate hosting of the meetings. So Microdoc is hosting us tomorrow, and so they're going to share with us about some of the work that their company is doing with Java. And when Alibaba hosted us last year, they talked about what they were doing. And I think one of the topics that we started talking about last year that we're going to really dig into tomorrow is dependencies in Java. And I mentioned this in my presentation, right? So all the third-party library maintainers, especially the open source ones, how do we help them to keep up with the faster release cadence? And I think you had identified in your presentation that you shared when you were hosting that you had over 1,000 different dependencies, right? And as you migrated between 8 and 11 and from 11 to 17, how do you work with these maintainers to try to influence them and support them so that they also can, come along with us so that we can migrate everyone to the newest versions of Java for security, which we'll talk about tomorrow, as well as to take advantage of the new features. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about tip and tail development, and what part we can all play as we influence the ecosystem. So those are some of the things that we'll talk about. And after the break, we're going to hear more from our panelists about some of the new features and how they've implemented them, and some of the challenges or opportunities that they see in those things. So with that, we'll take a short break and come back. Got back from our break. We had one new panelist join us. So I'm going to have Bruno introduce himself. So I was talking to someone during the break. I said we've collected, our members come together in the executive committee 2 times a year face-to-face, but we have people from Asia, people from North America, people from Europe, people from South America. But I said Bruno's not here yet, but he's here. So Bruno from Brazil, representing Java, Brazilian Java user group. I'm going to let him introduce himself, and then we'll dig back into the panel.
Thanks, everyone. Hey, hello, everyone. Hello, everyone here. So good to see you guys again. Thanks for being here. I think that's the important thing that the JCP does in coming here and kind of visiting you. And, I've met several of you guys last year when I was here, for example. and it's so good to be back and see you again, right? We have some time in Crete, right? So spend some time in Crete, right? So one thing that we have to understand is that your job can be fully remote, right? You know, you don't need to go to the office ever if you want to, but your career is not remote. So this year that you guys are doing, kind of meet each other face to face, it's extremely important. And that's what we do in the JCP, right? We come meet face to face because it makes a big difference. So thanks, everyone.
Okay. One more housekeeping thing. We have Joanne in the back. She's taking pictures. So if anyone doesn't want to be in the pictures, just raise your hand and we'll make sure that you're not in any pictures that she's taking. I should have said that in advance. Okay. Yes. Just documenting everyone getting together here. So yeah, we already did introductions. So I said at the break, let's hear from some of our members about, some of the features that Miro talked about, as well as some of the challenges in implementing new versions of Java. So I know we're going to talk about some of that tomorrow, but maybe share some experiences here. And then maybe some of you in the audience can share some of your experiences or ask some questions from our panelists. So do we have, I know, Sanhung, you said you had something to share about your experience. Did you want to start first on that side since you went last on the introductions?
Anyone? Anything?
Well, I mean, just talk about, implementing some of the new features, some of your experience. You've done a lot of work migrating your platform in between versions. So best practices or tips you want to share.
Okay, thanks. Okay, and thank you. And I just share some migration experience for Java version. Actually, for Alibaba, actually, I think 2 or 3 years ago, all our applications are written in Java, using Java 8. So the challenge here is, how we can help our Java developers from help them migrate from Java 8 to Java 11. If you want to migrate the Java version from Java 8 to 11, it's a big challenge. It would be introduced more incompatibility issues. So if you want to migrate from Java 11 to 17, I think it's more easy if you compare with migrating from Java 8 to 11. Our work is, how we can help our developers to migrate from Java 8 to Java 11. So at the time, we just, try to figure out some things, especially we just create some tooling support for our developers. The tool has been open source under Eclipse Foundation. It's called EMT4J. It's a tooling help us Java developers to migrate to easy migration. So for our experience, our application is very complex, many dependency, and including some third-party library upgrading. So that's why we want to add tooling support to help our developers to do more migration. I think this is something we are doing in Alibaba, yeah.
All right, thank you. And I know the last panel we had, I know Volker, I'm sorry I took I didn't have enough seats for you, but I think Yishai talked about, some of your experience at Amazon with implementing virtual threads from Project Loom. You want to talk about some of the things you've done on Amazon with virtual threads?
We are very interested in virtual threads. And if you look at the current implementation, it's great, but it still has some rough edges, I would say, especially that when you call to native or when you do synchronized methods or locking that can pin your virtual threads. A lot of these things have been improved now in 22, and there is ongoing work to improve things in 23. And if you look at the 21 update projects, then my colleague Alexei Shipilov, who is the author of Java Microhirnos, for example, he has done a lot of work to downport the important fixes and improvements for virtual threads to 21, because 21 is ultimately the LTS versions which we plan to migrate to. And I think starting with the recent April release of JDK 21, which is I think 2103, we recommend that to our internal customers so they can start moving to 21 productively, and we're slowly ramping up to support it productively. So yeah, that's one of the things we do. Apart from that, we are also working on other exciting projects. I mentioned generational Shenandoah before, so there's not only generational CGC, there is also generational Shenandoah, which is another low latency garbage collector. It's currently not production ready, but we plan to integrate it into upstream, hopefully in OpenJDK 23. And another project which will also help to improve denseness of application and in consequence carbon dioxide or money or however you count it, is the project Lilliput where we are working on. My colleague Roman Kenke, who is the author or the initial inventor of this. So project Lilliput, if you're not familiar with it, is about minimizing the object header. Currently, every object in the Java heap has a 2 words header, even with compressed OOPs that can be 12 bytes, which is a lot, especially for small objects. And by decreasing this object header to 8 bytes or even 4 bytes in the future, we can see memory improvements about, depending on the application, between 10 and 20%. The nice thing is there is a tool called Java Object Layout, again authored by my colleague Alexei Shepidov, which is actually there for you to find out the internal layout of the Java objects. And this tool can be used to estimate the savings you get with a small objects header by analyzing a heap dump, for example, of you can basically take a heap dump of your running application and then run the Java Object Layout tool on it, and it will count the object sizes and see how many basically headers you have and say you how much heap memory improvements you will get with this small object headers. We are also working on improving the performance and of the JVM on ARM, as I said before, because that's what we're running in a lot of our centers. But I mean, I don't want to take all the time. There's a lot of other things.
Okay, yeah. All right, well, maybe.
Do they have questions?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. Any more questions from the audience before we move on to another panelist and I ask them about some of their experience? Anything you wanted to ask about? Yeah?
Well, in what state is the project Lilliput with the smaller object headers? When can we expect it?
Well, the projects in OpenJDK will depend on how many contributors are contributing.
No, there is. I think it's basically ready. The thing is that it has some dependencies on other projects. For example, on Loom and on a locking code. The Oracle colleagues are working on a new lightweight locking implementation, which is a dependency of Lilliput. And Lilliput is basically waiting that this new lightweight locking implementation gets integrated into OpenJDK. And once that happens, hopefully in 23, then we will also push the plan is then to push Lilliput right after the lightweight locking implementation. So if you follow the lightweight locking implementation, you might get an idea when it's ready. So we are already using it internally for some services, just to get more experience and see how it works. We detected some issues with it and fixed them already internally. So, but as I say, I think the 8-byte object header is actually ready. So Roman is currently mostly working on the 4, on a small, even smaller heap, so that the 8-byte version is just waiting for the other dependencies.
There are also some GC dependencies which need to be integrated yet.
the garbage collectors need a couple of adaptations, and there are already pull requests open, but they are still not yet completely reviewed and integrated. And that's probably the most critical part which blocks it currently. The new lightweight locking is already enabled by default in 23.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So I just want to say something that may sound the opposite of what you believe. Java is really easy. Unfortunately, a lot of people go around telling everyone it's hard. And that's just a message we have to change. I joked about the book I wrote. Well, I wrote a book for developers in other languages who needed to quickly move to Java. And it's easy. I did a workshop for the Eclipse Foundation on RESTful web services. You know, you can do, embedded RESTful web services in about 4 lines of code. But the message isn't getting out there, right? Again, if you're still doing Java 8, if you haven't looked at the most recent libraries, you're missing out on that. Java is easy. It has to be if I'm doing it.
Okay, Bruno, do you want to share with us about some of the work that you're doing?
Yes.
And I think even this could be a potential talk, since you're local company, right? You had talked about some of the things that maybe you could talk about at the meeting, JUG, in the future.
I wanted to talk about a new feature in Java 22 that is this called foreign function and memory API. Coming back to this Java should be easy, I have to share a history. Some years ago, I was very, I wanted to play a little bit with artificial intelligence. So I took a model, I took what is called TensorFlow. There are some bindings for Java. Everything was running on my computer. Okay, now I want to run this on my NVIDIA embedded device, which has a nice GPU, and it didn't work because the bindings were not available. I don't remember exactly what was the reason, but it was very difficult, and it took me longer to solve this issue that at the end I decided to stop using that and took the implementation from another implementation differently, not using that in Java. And I think this problem is something we need, is there, and it has been there for many years, is native interface. So that's the reason we were not part of the project, but I think it's very important. This new way to interact with native libraries, but staying in Java, is the right decision to do. I mean, we have to be honest, and this is not a trivial task to deal with native code. And this new interface is going to help you better, and it's going to be, there is one barrier less to deal with this problem. What I think is a very nice feature. We have been waiting for a long time. It has been, I think, 5 or 6 releases in preview. There has been some iterations. But, I mean, we have been experimenting with that already. Also with artificial intelligence, we have a device with an NPU. There is a library we need to talk to. Kind of, we will publish an article about what we are doing with that.
So what is that again? Can you just...
The foreign function and memory API. This is it should be the new interface to interact with native libraries. And it will help. I mean, one of the problems of Java now, from a point of view compared to other competitors like Python, is like Python is easier to deal with native libraries than is in Java. And that's the reason when people were experimenting with PyTorch or TensorFlow, it's easier to do this in Python. Even in Python, it's not the real language that is implementing the logic, or it is everything done in C++ or Rust or whatever language. But the interface is simpler, and Java should also try to get an easier interface to deal with native code. So I think this, for me, is my favorite new feature in Java 22. I'm very happy that it's there. And I'm going to push all my customers to go there. And it's a good selling point, because I have many customers. I have projects in Java 8 still. Not my projects, but customers. I want to move them to the future, and this will be a game changer.
So you are imagining, you are doing experiments for AI scenario, AI scenario.
AI,
PyTorch, TensorFlow.
yeah, we are doing this kind of things,
Okay.
and also there is this kind of device called NPU, some embedded devices.
Okay.
I mean, we are doing very simple things for the moment. We are
Oh.
multiplying matrices, multiplications, and we are going there because we think it's something we want to enter. I mean, there's going to be a revolution on that, and every mobile phone already has some accelerators for AI. It's going to be everywhere, and Java needs to have a nice interface to deal with these things.
How many of you have played with JSR 381? Okay, next question. How many of you know what JSR 381 is?
Yeah, I think the numbers are complicated. I know what you mean.
So, JSR 381 is an API for machine learning. Now, we're not talking about LLMs, we're talking about pattern matching machine learning, for which there are native Java libraries. I'm also waiting for foreign memory. I want to start playing with all those libraries that other languages are using poorly. But JSR 381 with libraries from DeepNets, even Amazon has a pure Java library. And again, it's easy, right? It's a handful of lines of code to train the model and then use the model. And so while everybody's focusing on, oh gee, we can't use TensorFlow, there's already, if what you're interested in is pattern recognition, which is an important thing that happens, what's in this image? We can do that now, and yet it's not getting any love.
So do you mean Project Panama?
No.
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, JSR 381 is a standalone optional package running on Java SE, but Project Panama is another project if you're interested in AI to
Project
follow
Panama is
in
about
OpenJDK.
this native.
Okay, so you didn't ask the question yet, but you're next. Okay, so Martin, why don't you share a little bit about some of the projects that Microsoft is interested in and getting excited about in terms of implementing coming out of OpenJDK?
So we're probably unusually one of the companies that cares both about the server and the client side because we have millions of angry 12-year-olds as our customers. But no, we do aggressively upgrade our services internally. I think it's something that Amazon and others also share. The return on investment is so clear. So if you are struggling with your bosses, then please don't hesitate to reach out to some of us, and we can happily help you. Use the right sort of language for business cases and things. Definitely true. But I think for me, it's the convergence of everything that Oracle and others are doing, and they haven't explicitly written it all out yet. But when you see the combination of Valhalla, records, foreign function interface, virtual threads, Lilliput, and all these things coming together, what they're really trying to achieve, what we're trying to achieve for Java in the long term, is that you can use Java in these tiny, tiny container-like spaces and do very C-like things with it, right? Machine learning, just crashing through numbers, processing JSON, processing XML, that kind of really data-driven stuff, all the way up to your really big traditional, I've got a 2 terabyte heap and I need to deal with large amounts of business data. So that's the reason why you're seeing all these projects happening, because 10, 15 years ago when Java was the king of middleware enterprise development, it was a single VM and you had 8 gig of RAM, and that was the world you lived in, and so Java had to have a lot of assumptions around it. So all the work that we're all trying to do today is all converging towards trying to undo some of those architectural decisions and kind of, change, what's the phrase they use, change the road underneath the car as it is driving is what's kind of going on. And that's why, sadly, sometimes some of these features come out very slowly, because we have to be super, super careful about getting it right. And the best way we can ask all of you to help is to please try out the incubator features as soon as possible. Really push yourself and your teams to try these things. Yep, that's from me.
Okay. Yeah, so one thing you may or may not have noticed in the platform releases is starting after Java 9, we have preview features and incubator features. So that means that we're looking for more feedback from you. So when you are trying out new versions of Java, if you try out some of those features, make sure you're giving feedback on how you're using it, because that will continue to be evolved before it becomes a regular feature as part of platform release. Okay, let's see. Let's hear from SAP next. And then you mentioned that some of the work that you're doing, Martin, on the Power Port project, but anything else that you wanted to highlight, either from your side or from Christoph?
We're actually also interested in a lot of projects, but regarding JDK 22, my favorite is also Project Panama, the new foreign function interface. I have also worked quite some time on it. So I'm interested who has used chain I, who has written chain I code to call native code from Java.
Once and never again.
Yeah. I think it's not so bad. It can be used, but if you can use Panama, that's way more comfortable. So because you can now get a method handle which refers to a function in a native library, and you can directly call it. It's much smoother. You don't need to write an extra intermediate chain I layer you have to call through. And it works on all platforms, so it's pretty cool. It's a big advantage. It's definitely my favorite feature in JDK 22.
I think one of the biggest differences for me is that basically in JNI you have to do a lot of this marshalling and unmarshalling. In JNI you have to do a lot of, in C or in C++, a lot of code, write a lot of code to marshal and unmarshal these objects to get the data from native to Java and back. And with foreign function interface, this has moved to Java, which is obviously more secure and can be better optimized, because the JIT compiler, which you, for example, are working on, it is basically inlining all this data marshalling and unmarshalling in Java, and can optimize it in a better way. And then just the last call is done to Java, and this is also more performant. So I think the latest benchmarks show that yes, that's true. So I think the latest benchmarks show that it's also considerably faster than JNI, which is really great, and which I didn't expect in the beginning. So I'm also excited about it.
Yeah. So one thing which I also can add from SAP perspective, what we see with our stakeholders in Java is really also this release cadence model, what now was established after Java 8, now with 11 and those ATSs, and then this half a year there's a new release. So I think we started also off with most of the users and services on Java 8. And so now we're really seeing, we got a lot of folks moving on, and as soon as they start moving, some started with 11 and so on, so some converted directly from 8 to 17, but once you have them on this kind of release train model, it's also easier to get the users forward. So, they would not jump maybe every half a year to the next, like 22 or so, to the short-term releases, only if you're maybe really interested in some feature like Panama, you want to explore it or so. But really also these productive scenarios, they go from LTS to LTS, and then this train is really starting off. So that's really a nice thing which we observe.
Thank you. And I will shift gears a little bit. Let's hear, Bruno's on the executive committee representing user groups, individual developers, so maybe share a little bit about your experience. And I think also there was a question that you could address, so not only from the features perspective, things that you're excited about for your membership and for individual developers and Java user group members all over the world, but what does getting involved in this type of activity do for you? Why would you join? Why would you get involved in these types of activities, and how can it benefit you and your career?
Okay. All right. So I know that when everyone's here talking about the new features and the latest versions, and the things that like the incubator, right? So how many here are actually using the incubator feature right now? Okay. Just you're using yourself, right? So a couple. Yeah. All right. So you see, I understand that this sounds way out of our daily life, right? But in reality, you guys are, from what I can see here, one more question here really quick. Who here consider yourself a junior professional? No one, right? Okay.
Nobody dares.
Yeah. No. Who here consider yourself a mid-level professional? Okay, so who here consider yourself a senior developer, senior professional? Okay, that's where we are. So most of us here.
More, higher.
Don't ask for Java champions.
Right. And so, most of you guys are here are senior professionals, right? So you have many years of experience. And that experience that you have, that experience that we need, right? That the JCP needs, the Java needs, the OpenJDK needs. So it's not something out of your daily life, right? So just experimenting with those things. Even if all you do is just get your CI/CD environment to get the latest version of Java and compile and run your tests on the latest version of Java, that's already very valuable. So there's, not a lot of work from your part. You don't need to convince your boss to run things in production. You just need to compile and run the test on the latest version, because that helps. We might pick up some problems. You might start discovering things that could be useful, right? And so the sooner we do that, actually, I just did 3 weeks ago, I did the opening talk for Oracle Live event down in Brazil, and in that talk we're talking about when Oracle announced it, the release cadence, the 6 months release cadence, right? And it's unbelievable how many people, right? The very, very famous ones, right? You guys know all of them, right? That bashed that idea. Oh, it's never gonna happen. It's never gonna work. It's bullshit, right? So they bashed in all kinds of ways when that was announced. And for me, that was always the best feature of Java, right? The fact that we have more frequent releases, that's so helpful. And on that talk, I was giving that talk, right in the first row, there's a guy that works for one of the largest banks in the world, right? And he was there and he said, look, the fact that there is the release cadence, it's much easier for us to convince our bosses to actually use, to update more frequently, right? And so, and I also I did an interview with Brian Getz a couple of years ago, where he's talking about how much it changed, not, for the team, for the Java team, right? And he was telling about, that in the beginning everyone was very afraid, even the team did not believe, but once we get the release cadence, the team is much better, right? Because now instead of the team spending, because think about how it was before, right? So some of you might remember that Java had like a 6-year release cadence, right? I think that was the longest one. It was like 6 or 7 years. So 6-year release cadence. So what happened was in the last year, they didn't do anything, right? They're all meetings and meetings and meetings just to decide what's going to be in there, what's not going to be. Because if you missed that, if the code that you're working on did not make up that version, you need to wait for 6 years to get it again, right? And so, and Brian was saying, look, this week, on that interview that we did, right, he's saying this week, there's coming a release of Java. And I'm here. I'm in an event, I'm talking to you guys. That was impossible earlier. We couldn't actually do that. So the change for the team that develops Java was huge, and that's the same thing for you guys, right? So if you start just experimenting and start using whatever feature that you prefer, or just start experimenting, that can happen to you too. And we've seen a lot of companies that they're using. You saw here Microsoft and Amazon, right? Actually Amazon had some numbers, right? I'm not sure if that presentation is public or not, but you have some numbers that are amazing, right? Just by updating to a new release, how much money they are saving, for example. I'm sure Microsoft also have amazing numbers like this, right? And so your participation, guys, you just compiling the code, running the code in your company, you doing a little bit of help. You are all here on the level that we need, right? All of us, the whole Java community needs your help by just experimenting.
Okay. Awesome. Well, we're basically out of time, but I want to make sure I answer any questions that you have. So any remaining questions from the audience, and then I have one call to action, which I'll ask Ken to speak. So any questions from the audience that you want to ask of the panelists? Yes. I'll repeat your question, or you can come up here.
Which project you want to have most help now?
Which project do we want most help on? So, I mean, the way I always answer that question is what you really should work on projects that are most interesting to you.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you're going through and testing out the early access builds, for instance, you know, see what's appealing to you or see what dependencies you may have, and then, you know, get involved in that project. So anything that you heard talked about today that you think that's really cool, or I could apply that in my company, go and join the mailing list for that project and see what's happening. Look at the discussions, look at the issue tracker, and see how you can get involved. So that, I think, is probably the best way to get involved in any open source project.
But please not the Victor API, because it's gone through seven iterations.
Not
we just want it to be released now. Too much feedback.
Okay. All right. Well, one of the other things that we try to do when we come to have a face-to-face meeting with the executive committee is meet with local universities. And I did reach out to University of Munich, but I didn't have a chance to meet with anyone. So I mentioned the Java in Education initiative. So if there's anyone here, you know, in your leadership committee or here in the meeting that wants to get involved and try to reach out to some of your local universities to work with the students and bring them into your community, please either get in contact with me or Ken, who helps me to lead that initiative. And Ken, I'll just let you end since you didn't have a chance to address the things you're most excited about. You did take that opportunity, but you can go ahead and have the closing comment.
Thank you. I won't even talk about the fact that public static void main string args is over. So it doesn't actually. So what we hope you will do is reach out to universities, offer to come into their classroom. I know students love to hear about what's a day in your life. What is their career going to be? Are they in the basement growing mushrooms on their monitor under incandescent fluorescent lights or something? No. It's an exciting profession. You're challenged every day. And it takes developers in the profession to get that message out. So reach out to universities. They really do want to hear from their graduates from other universities. They're as removed from the workplace as I was in the classroom. And they really need your help to maybe get a newer version of Java, but at least let students know what their life is going to be like and why they made the best possible decision.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for coming to celebrate the JCP with us. Before you leave tonight, make sure you get a t-shirt. We have t-shirts that are, I think, behind Ken. So we have JCP 25-year anniversary t-shirts. And Bruno has one announcement.
Okay, really quick here, thanks to the Munich user group, right? So, and also C-Place, we're gonna run a workshop on growing beyond senior. It's gonna be Friday and Saturday, Friday night and Saturday the whole day, right? So, thanks to them, it's completely free. So, but we don't have a lot of positions available. I do have a QR code here. If anyone wants to just come take a picture here and register right now. So you have a chance, right? So if you want to come, it's going to be me and Otávio Santana. That's also here on the EC of the JCP. We're going to talk about open source. We're going to talk about the JCP, lots of other things. Thanks.
I think we mentioned that in the beginning, right? Did you mention that? We mentioned that in the beginning announcements. So same event.
Yeah, same event. Exactly.
See Bruno if you missed that in the beginning. So he has a QR code. Any closing comments from you? I know we have one copy of Bruno and I's book, which is on the same topic Ken just ended on, which is Developer Career Master Plan. So we have one copy of the book that we can each sign. And we'll just do first come, first serve on the book. And anything else?
There's one. Don't do like a...
Well, I offered to do a raffle, but they said that's not necessary.
Not necessary? Okay.
Yeah, that's not...
So whoever comes here first?
Yes.
Right? Please say go.
So don't forget to grab your t-shirt and get in touch with us about reaching out to your local universities, and I encourage you to get involved with some of the projects that we talked about here tonight.
No, wait. Let's say okay. We're gonna make sure that you're in the recording, right?
Thank you for coming to us, and
for all the stuff you told us. It's very interesting for me, and I hope it's interesting for you, and maybe we see you sometime again here at the Java User Group. And to you, thanks for coming, and have a good trip home. Thank you.